Canada, apparently they're throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which means The View is very unhappy.
Oh, it's not even that. And The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and the, was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a Republican, but every show and every break, she was nearly in tears because she was being attacked.
What happens when a daytime TV icon, the self-proclaimed moral compass of American media, suddenly finds her carefully constructed narrative dismantled by two sharp, witty critics who weren't even on the set? You get a full-blown comedic demolition derby. The spectacle of Whoopi Goldberg, perched high on her View throne, getting absolutely obliterated by Greg Gutfeld's razor-sharp sarcasm and Tyrus's blunt, relentless logic, has become social media gold. This wasn't just a debate, it was a reality check so brutal, it left her looking like she needed a one-way ticket to somewhere without Wi-Fi or cable. 1 second she's delivering a lecture like she's headlining a TED Talk, and the next she's staring into the camera with the blank look of someone whose arguments just got demolished by a verbal smackdown she never saw coming. This was a masterclass in public self-sabotage, orchestrated remotely by two people who simply pointed out the obvious and watched a media empire start to crack under the pressure of its own hypocrisy.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, AKA Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
It's so cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the green room.
To truly understand the magnitude of this event, you first have to understand the kingdom of The View. It's a show that operates less like a genuine panel discussion and more like a carefully managed echo chamber. Here, logic takes a back seat, facts rarely get through security, and accountability left the building years ago. Outrage isn't just a vibe, it's the business model. For decades, it has served as a platform for a particular brand of political commentary, dramatic, emotionally charged, and delivered with a sense of moral superiority that demands deference. The show has a long and storied history of running off dissenting voices. Remember when Meghan McCain was on the panel? As a Republican, she was ostensibly there to provide a conservative viewpoint, but according to those close to the show, she was nearly in tears during every commercial break because of the constant personal attacks from her co-hosts. The View isn't interested in actual debate, it's interested in conformity. The hosts who survive and thrive are the ones who stick to the script, like Sunny Hostin or Joy Behar, who have mastered the art of making idiots look smart. The ones who leave, like McCain, are simply deemed incompatible with the show's rigid ideology. It's a place where feelings are facts, and every opinion that deviates from the approved narrative is not just a disagreement, but a fundamental threat to the Republic.
Yeah, ABC suspended Whoopi for 2 weeks because she said the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. She said this on a show called The View, which makes everything about race. Except now.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
Ethnicity.
No, it's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid. Even for The View.
At the very center of this carefully protected kingdom sits its queen, Whoopi Goldberg. Over the years, she has crowned herself the head of this domain, the final word on all matters political and social. She's the midday monarch, draped in self-righteous energy, firing off dramatic one-liners like she's delivering closing arguments in a courtroom no one asked for. She sets the tone, controls the narrative, and dispenses wisdom like it's a TED Talk for the proudly misinformed. But there's a problem when she walks into showdowns unprepared. Trying to flex intellect while ignoring facts, her arguments end up in pieces, and her pride stuck in reruns. Just recently, her intellectual vulnerability was put on full display when she was handed a 2-week suspension from ABC. The reason? She had claimed that the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. This on a show that ironically makes everything about race. When questioned, she doubled down, insisting it was about man's inhumanity to man, a statement so devoid of historical understanding it left the entire internet speechless. It was heroically stupid, even for The View, and it set the stage for the kind of public self-sabotage that Gutfeld and Tyrus are masters at exposing.
So the problem is that you have to go after the racist people. And if the CEO goes, you know what, I'm not going to allow a woman on my show or man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, you know, Emily.
Far away from the cozy applause of The View's ever-obedient audience, reality logged on. When Gutfeld and Tyrus decided to weigh in on the state of political commentary, they didn't do it from a high-glamour, applause-driven set. They did it remotely, from their own space, armed with late-night truth bombs. And they didn't even aim for Whoopi specifically. Their target was the larger absurdity of celebrity-fueled misinformation and ego without accountability. Gutfeld, with his signature deadpan delivery, simply pointed out the problem with a genre of pundits who have been wrong so many times. It's a miracle they're still allowed microphones. He exposed the folks who yell "educate yourself" right after butchering the name of a country they couldn't point to on a map. Gutfeld's critique was devastatingly simple. The View doesn't need to find more Trumpers to create balance. It needs to fire its race baiters. He suggested the show clean up its own backyard and remove the hosts who, according to him, have been allowed to spew division for years. He didn't shout. He didn't grandstand. He just leaned in, dropped a punchline that hit harder than a double shot of espresso straight to Whoopi's belief system. Then came Tyrus, who added the finishing blow with metaphors so blunt and on point, they hit like a brick through a stained glass window.
Yesterday on The View, otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment based on religion. Are these values really much different than the Taliban's?
Wow. Talk about groundbreaking to actually hear a celebrity say something mean about the Taliban. How dare they compare them to Trump? The Taliban should sue. Guess they ran out of Hitler analogies. So as they bash the president, I'm reminded how entertainers rarely express any rage over any strand of misogynist Islamism. If they did, we might take their rage toward Trump seriously.
And Whoopi, like a moth drawn to the flame, took it intensely personally. Her response wasn't a rebuttal of ideas. It was a full-on explosion of pride and frustration. She looked into that camera, chin up, eyes blazing, lips curled into that familiar Hollywood outrage. It was the kind of dramatic stare you expect before someone says, "How dare you?" She huffed, she puffed. She summoned every ounce of righteous fury that daytime TV could squeeze out of her, but instead of a powerful counter-argument, all she could muster was her signature move, performative exhaustion. The long, dramatic sigh, the slow, passive-aggressive clap, as if giving herself a standing ovation for not storming off the set. The look of a frustrated professor lecturing a class that stopped listening years ago. This wasn't the posture of a confident debater. It was the frantic body language of someone who had just lost the argument and had nothing left in her arsenal but theater. This isn't courage, it's a staged tantrum. It's the ultimate signal. I've got nothing left to say, but I'll act like you're not worth my energy. And in doing so, she walked right into their trap, making a general critique of her entire genre intensely personal.
Get out on The View, all right? Talking about Latinos. Watch this, Tyrus.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep.
So
and they were begging people to care about it for years. We
Misogyny
need to
and
take some
sexism.
lessons.
That's what that was.
Misogyny and sexism.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for her asking that question, it might have been a closer election. But when you, oh no, nothing really comes to mind, I was like, cha-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be, this should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last, they called him Hitler, they call these things, America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball to Sonny.
This meltdown is even more revealing when you open the Whoopi Goldberg Hypocrisy files, a collection of contradictions so vast it deserves its own museum wing. Take the Mel Gibson controversy. When he launched into a hate-fueled tirade, what did Whoopi say? She confidently assured the world he couldn't be racist, simply because he was nice to her. Fast forward and she's delivering sermons on systemic injustice like a woke Dalai Lama. Apparently, accountability is only for people she doesn't have in her phone contacts. And what about her bizarre defense of Roman Polanski, a convicted abuser of a child, where she tried to play word games, suggesting it wasn't R-A-P-E, or her long-standing defense of Bill Cosby, which only crumbled when the evidence became completely undeniable. Then there's her take on free speech, a right she champions fiercely until it's used to challenge her. When she faces backlash, it's no longer criticism, it's an oppressive attack from the right-wing hate machine. In Whoopi's world, cancel culture is a fascist nightmare. Unless it's aimed at someone she dislikes, then it's just harmless, casual, socially acceptable brunch talk. It's a moral flexibility so profound, she could limbo under a bar set by the International Criminal Court.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
It's not even that. And The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a Republican, but every show and every break, she was nearly in tears because she was being attacked.
As Whoopi was left fumbling on live TV, her co-hosts did exactly what they always do. They rallied around her like emotional bodyguards, forming a tight circle of coddling comfort. There was no challenge, no grounding her in reality. Instead, they lit verbal incense and chanted the usual mantras. "You're so brave, Whoopi, and thank you for speaking your truth." They weren't defending strength. They were patching holes in a sinking ship. The whole segment stopped feeling like a talk show and started looking more like a group therapy session for wounded egos in designer clothes. This circle of comfort is precisely why she can't handle criticism from the outside world. On her set, surrounded by her well-groomed panel of elites sipping lukewarm decaf outrage, she is never wrong. This ecosystem of validation is what allows the delusion to persist, making any dose of reality from the outside world feel like a violent attack. They weren't defending a colleague, they were protecting the fragile bubble that keeps their entire show afloat.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So that makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by The View's gravitational pull. All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has?
In the end, what really sealed the spectacle was the stark contrast between the two sides. Whoopi tried to win with dramatics and body language, but Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't need any of it. Their power came from restraint. Gutfeld delivered the closing shot with that signature smirk, dissecting Whoopi's logic like a frog in biology class. He didn't scream, he simply summed it up. The View is a cult of grievance wrapped in a bathrobe of delusion. The public erupted because when someone finally says out loud what people have been thinking for years, it hits different. And Whoopi's comeback? Nothing of substance, no counterpoint, just the same tired line she always uses, right-wing hate. It's a response not meant to persuade, but to shut down conversation. She was left slumped back in her chair, blinking like someone who just lost a battle she didn't even know she was in. No applause, no standing ovation, just that blank stare of someone realizing too late that the stage lights are still on and the script has run out. The real story here is that two guys with microphones managed to send a major TV personality spiraling from across the country, not because they bullied or shouted, but because they spoke plainly, and the truth hit harder than any scripted monologue ever could.